Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about dividing decimals. Very similar to dividing whole numbers, okay, just with one addition, if you will. So, let's take a decimal divided by a whole number, okay? If it's something like this, where you're taking something that is a decimal divided by a whole number, all you do is raise the decimal up and then divide as if they're whole numbers, okay? So for example, this one I would start with what? This, and I would raise the decimal point up where it belongs, okay? So then I'm going to now divide, ignore the decimal point and divide like they're whole numbers. So again, I find the first group of numbers that's bigger than or equal to 6, so that would be 48. So 6 goes into 48, how many times? 7. So I put the 7 right here. And then I do 6 times 7 is 42. And I subtract. And then when I subtract, I get 6. And then, oh wait a minute, it's 8. See? That's not a remainder, so I didn't do it right. See, now well, I'm glad I actually did that. Because notice that I got a remainder that is equal to the divisor. If you get a remainder, the remainder should always be less than the divisor. If it's not, then you did something wrong. So it's obvious I did something wrong here. So now I realize that this goes in 8 times. So I didn't do my multiples right, or I didn't go far enough. So this is 8. 6 times 8 is 48, and I get 0. So what's the answer? 0.8. Okay? And again, you can check by doing the multiplication, right? Remember, you can undo this by multiplying by 6 and adding the remainder. Well, since the remainder is 0, you just do 6 times 0.8 and see if you get 0.48, which you do, right? So 6 times 8 is 48. 1 decimal place. There you go. So we got right back where we started with. So there's your check. Now what about this one here? 312 divided by 1.2. So now the divisor has a decimal in it. How would we handle that? Well, this is what we do. Now in this case here, the easiest way to do this is to move the decimal point over to the left, or excuse me, to the right, 1 decimal place. Or move it over as many decimal places as you need to in order to get a whole number as the divisor. Because if you get a whole number as a divisor, then you're right back to what we did here. But how do you do that? You can't just move it over just because you want to, right? Well, think about this. Let's take that kind of division, right? This is 1 divided by 2, 1/2. Remember, the slash mark means division. So what happens if I multiply the top and the bottom by 10? I get that. Well, is it 1/2, 1 divided by 2, the same as 10 divided by 20? Yes, it is. Now, what happened? When I multiplied by 10, all it really effectively did was I have a decimal here, right? There's an imaginary decimal point at the end of any whole number, right? So if I multiply by 10, it's moving the decimal point 1 unit to the right. And that's the key. So what I have to do is multiply the divisor and the dividend by the same power of 10 that I need to do in order to move the decimal point. So in this case, I need to move it over 1 spot. So that means I'm going to multiply the divisor and the dividend by 10. And so if I do that, now I don't have to physically do that, but realize what's going on. So if I multiply by 10, I'm essentially moving the decimal point over. And if I do that, I move it here and I raise it to there. So again, you don't have to mentally multiply by 10, okay? Just do it in your head. Okay, so basically you just move the divisor over as many spots to the right as you need to get a whole number, and then make sure you move the decimal point in the dividend the same number of decimal places. That's what you need to do. So now that we've done that, now we divide like if they're whole numbers. So 12 goes into 31, how many times? Twice. 12 times 2 is 24. And then we subtract, and we get 7, right? And then we drop the 2 down, and then 12 goes into 72. How many times? 6. And then 12 times 6 is 72. We get a remainder of 0, and the answer is 2.6. And we're done. So 1.2 divided by 3.12 is 2.6. And we're done. Have a good night.